Come see us on tour in Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, Cohost, Providence, San Jose, Toledo, Ohio. Go to jimmydore.com for tickets. So Trump is starting another war. He's bombing. I've ordered the United States military to launch a decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. Did you remember him running on that? Do you remember him running on? I don't remember him running on. Hey, by the way,
Gulf of America or Greenland or this?
Yeah, I don't remember him saying, "Hey, if you elect me, I'm going to get us back into those Middle Eastern wars at the behest of Israel," because that's what this is.
Also, one little note: they're not called Houthis, and they're also the legitimate government of Yemen, as voted for by their people, and not the puppet state that's in one tiny corner of Yemen. They're not called Houthis. You know that?
So I didn't know that. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. Okay, that's largely bullshit, but I'm going to explain it to you in a second. Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak, so the unrestrained Houthis just kept going. It's been over a year since a U.S.-flagged commercial ship safely sailed through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, or the Gulf of Aden. The last American warship to go through the Red Sea 4 months ago was attacked by the Houthis over a dozen times. Funded by Iran, the Houthi thugs have fired missiles at U.S. aircraft and targeted our troops and allies. That's like, after we bombed the shit out of them. You know, the biggest bombing campaign and wipeout of a people was Yemen up until October 7th. Up until this most recent thing with the Palestinians, where they're ethnically cleansing and genociding them, and just bombing mostly women and children, it was Yemen, and that was us doing it. We were doing it with Saudi Arabia. Okay, so again, this is all about fossil fuels. That's what this is all about.
Well, also,
and about Houthis, Israel, and about Greater Israel.
I don't know what the right name for the Houthis is because it's hard to say, but the Houthis. They pull off the first successful naval blockade in recorded history.
Yes.
Without having a navy.
So anybody who knows their mythology knows the Ides of March are all about betrayal, right? And everyone who thought that Donald Trump was the anti-war president needs to realize that he is against the previous wars just so he could start his own. That's what this looks like.
Yeah, we're breaking up with our side piece, Ukraine, and getting back with our first wife, Israel.
That's right.
It was fun while it lasted, baby.
The Houthi attack on American vessels will not be tolerated. We will use overwhelming lethal force, blah, 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 the choked off, blah, blah, blah. Our brave fighters, blah, blah, blah.
It's interfering with Israel. That's why they're doing it.
That says exactly. To all the terrorists, your time is up, and you're attacked. The terrorists. You mean the terrorists that we funded in Syria? You mean ISIS? You mean Al Qaeda, the ones we invented? And ISIS.
You should check and make sure Bibi ain't funding the Houthis because he has a history of doing stuff like that.
You mean like Hamas? You mean the ones that Benjamin Netanyahu funded? You mean those terrorists? So now all of a sudden, so that's the game. Just so you get it right. The game is anybody that we want to bomb and kill, we just call them terrorists. Anybody we want to deport or we want to put in jail, we say you're a terrorist. That's how it works.
Well, you know that guy they're deporting, they used the McCarthy-era laws that they used on Jewish Holocaust survivors that were leftists to call them commies and deport them.
So that's the irony. The only difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden in this situation is that Donald Trump is aware that this is going on.
He doesn't have to have Tony Blinken do it.
Right. So Yemen, here's some antiwar.com. U.S. airstrikes kills 53, including women and children. Trump officials are threatening more airstrikes as the Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah. That's what they're...
I can say that. I don't know why I thought it was some... Yeah, I can remember. Ansar Allah, yeah.
They're vowing to a response.
Looks like you kids are getting drafted to go to Sandyland after all.
Looks like it. So I just wanted to show you this. So Thomas Massey says the military-industrial complex demands about $50 billion a year in war. As soon as we quit spending $50 billion a year in Afghanistan, we started spending $50 billion a year in Ukraine, just like I predicted. Watch where the next $50 billion a year goes when we stop spending it on Ukraine. The military-industrial complex is always hungry. Regarding U.S. activity in Yemen, I recently said to watch for a new military engagement to compensate for the pullback in Ukraine. The military-industrial complex demands $50 billion a year from our government, above and beyond what's necessary to defend our own country. So that Thomas.
What about our best friend and also aircraft carrier? You never had a friend / aircraft carrier, did you? That's why you don't get it.
Glenn Greenwald says the U.S. has been bombing Yemen since George Bush 43. Obama massively escalated it by aiding the Saudi war there and bombing himself. Biden bombed the Houthis 1,000 times in 2024 alone. So this idea that Trump is like, they're attacking us. No, we've been bombing the hell out of them, as usual.
Well, look, once the Greater Israel Project is done, then we can stop doing this.
Then we can stop doing this. So here, let me finish this. Biden bombed the Houthis 1,000 times in 2024, all to protect Israel from its refusal to allow food and aid into Gaza. The reason the Houthis are attacking. That's why. So the Houthis have a brotherhood with the people in Gaza who are being slaughtered because they were the previous ones being slaughtered by the U.S. war machine. That's why. And
it's
so
sad they haven't allied themselves with a greater colonial power like the others, and then they're just sitting there trying to be principled.
So when they were
assholes.
So when they were starving the people of Gaza and slaughtering them, the Yemen people in Yemen said, "Hey, we're not going to allow your ships to go and do commerce with Israel as long as they're doing this slaughter." So that's where that comes from. So that whole story Trump told you was made up. It was all made up to make the United States a victim. We're not the victim. Of course we're not the victim. Justin Amash says, I'll say it again. It is unconstitutional for President Trump to engage in acts of war in Yemen. It doesn't matter how appropriate you think it is for the United States to take on Houthis or terrorists or anyone. Congress has not authorized a war in Yemen. Engaging in war there is unlawful. That's so. After 9/11, they gave a blank check to any president who wants to do a war, so Congress doesn't have to vote on it. So we didn't vote on the war in Libya. We didn't vote on the war in Syria. We didn't vote on the war in Ukraine. We didn't vote on bombing Yemen. We didn't vote on Somalia, the Sudan. We're not voting on any of this. And that's so nobody can be held accountable. That's what this is about. So Glenn Greenwald says this is how the DC war machine keeps the United States on a footing of endless war, ensuring the coffers of the arms industry are always full and its own authority always increasing. What Trump vowed to stop.
The Doge cuts are nonsense, it turns out.
That turns out. They're all distraction.
People are whining about and defacing Tesla cars about.
It's a distraction.
All they did was take the money and from the thing that I guess the Hillary Satanist cabal wants to do what Bibi Netanyahu wants. And they raised it $6 billion. So there's been no cuts.
No cuts.
It's all bullshit.
There's been absolutely, that's right. So Trump endorsed raising the military budget, $6 billion. So all the cuts. So if we had, by the way, I want to say this to Glenn Greenwald. If we had to sit around and wait for congressional approval for every war that somebody comes up with, it would take at least another 45 minutes. Anyway, so this is from antiwar.com. A major round of U.S. airstrikes that hit Yemen on Saturday killed at least 53 people, including women and children. According to Yemen's Saba news agency, at least 5 children and 2 women were among the dead. Another 98 were wounded by the U.S. bombing, and the health ministry said many of the casualties were civilians, while the United States is claiming it killed multiple leaders of Yemen's Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah. Oh, yay. Yay. We're fighting terrorists. The United States...
If you block SodaStream from being sold in the U.S., you got to go.
Yeah. The United States is the world's terrorists. Jesus H. We bombed Yemen 1,000 times in 2024 alone. Okay? A total of 40 U.S. airstrikes were reported to hit Yemen, primarily focusing on the northern Sanaa governorate. Strikes also hit the Yemeni capital. Targets that were reported hit included power stations, residential areas, and homes, and some Houthi military sites. We love hitting residential areas because they don't shoot back. And they make perfect locations to put new smart cities, just like they do here.
Yeah.
The strikes mark the first time the United States bombed Yemen under the new Trump administration. Hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray. The Houthis announced on Sunday that they fired back, with Yemeni military spokesman saying the aircraft carrier USS Harry Truman was targeted with 18 ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as drones. U.S. officials later told Reuters that the U.S. military downed 11 drones fired from Yemen and tracked one missile that failed in flight. The leader of the Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, said that in response to the U.S. airstrikes, both military and commercial vessels in the region will now be targeted by Houthi missiles and drones. So this is President Trump ramping up a war for no reason.
No, there's a reason.
Well, I mean,
Israel.
For no reason that helps.
Their economy's hurting.
Doesn't help the United States. Doesn't help our people. Doesn't help a worker.
Helping a friend doesn't help you.
Doesn't help
your best friend in the Middle East. Our only friend.
Our only friend. President Trump announced the start of the bombing campaign on Saturday and said the Houthis must stop their attacks on shipping and U.S. warships. However, Ansar Allah hasn't targeted any ships in months since it ceased attacks once a ceasefire deal was reached in Gaza back in January.
Wow. Why is there always a nice little cherry on top of the shit Sunday in my mouth?
So that's what so there it is.
Oh, that's great. I love Hassanabi is kicked off Twitch for promoting the Houthis. And the Houthis haven't attacked anyone after a ceasefire deal.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'll give it to Hassanabi. He's smarter than Cenk ever was.
So again, that's all made up while Trump is bombing Yemen right now. That shows that's all made up. And we don't use real reasons to attack someone. We attack them, and when they attack us back in self-defense, we say they attacked us out of nowhere. We're like, the obnoxious women who try to get someone to punch them in the mall so they can sue them.
You do all those murders you want and take all my money to do it, and why should I have any say in it? Okay, but I don't want to ever hear about Putin ever again about how bad Putin is.
I mean, I know. Trump and other U.S. officials are also justifying the strikes by framing them as a way to protect global shipping. Although, and here's the part Trump won't tell you, critics are pointing out that the Red Sea being shut down has a minimal impact on the United States. What the media won't tell you is this shipping route is mainly used to get exports from Asia to Europe, Thomas Massey said on Twitter. Its economic value to the United States is primarily in importing oil from the Middle East, but we can drill our own oil. Most U.S. imports from Asia come via the Pacific.
Well, what about Israel? Is he forgetting about Israel?
He's forgetting about Israel. Of course he is. During his previous administration, President Trump supported a brutal Saudi United Arab Emirates war against the Houthis and used his veto power to kill legislation passed by Congress to end U.S. involvement in the conflict. Isn't that interesting? According to UN members, which are considered a low estimate, the U.S.-backed war killed 377,000 people.
Oh, Trump's also locked in with Saudis. Don't just blame it all on Israel. Don't forget the Saudis.
Don't forget the Saudis.
Don't focus on one. We are beholden to all kind of foreign power.
And half of those people, half of the 400,000 people that we killed, half of them died of starvation. Okay. All right. But we're not the terrorists. Just so you know, we're not someone else is. The people in Yemen are the real bad guys on the global scale. The U.S.-backed Saudi war on Yemen involved a brutal blockade, a heavy bombing campaign, and a ground campaign. During that time, the Houthis only became a more capable fighting force.
Oh, maybe we'll recruit them to work for America one day.
So, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz says all options are on the table in responding to Iran. That's right, Mike. You're going to get us into a nuclear conflict to protect your pedo bosses one way or another, even if you have to kick the football yourself.
With all options for real, like maybe Mike Walls can suck one of their dicks and settle this down.
Saudi Arabian television reports that Israel convinced the Trump administration to attack the Houthis in Yemen as a first step in military action against Iran.
Oh, start doing push-ups, kids. You're going to the final countdown to Iran.
Get ready. Statement from
Well, all options are always on the table with the president, but Iran needs to hear him loud and clear. It is completely unacceptable, and it will be stopped. The level of support that they've been providing the Houthis.
Sending a very clear message, and the message is clear to Iran as well, and the president said it in his truth.
Look at all the United States warships that are there. USS Harry Truman, USS Sullivan's, USS Stout, USS Jason Dunham, USS... What in the F? What are we... I thought Trump was supposed to end that stuff.
The Jason Statham, I thought it said.
That's what I thought it said. The USS,
by the way, just
USS Gettysburg is there. What are we doing?
Well, here's my favorite part. We could not win a war with Iran. We haven't won a war with anybody in 80 years.
I know.
So all this confidence is amazing. What jerk off would run out and sign up to go do that? I'll bet you they'll find a lot.
Yes.
Your support of the Houthis needs to end immediately. We will hold you accountable as the sponsor of this proxy, and I echo his statement.
But us bombing Yemen 1,000 times, and then them abiding by the ceasefire that took place in January when Trump instituted, that's got nothing to do. So this is them finding a way to start a war with Iran.
Well, that's all well and good, but where's all that Epstein stuff we were supposed to get? I mean, look, are you protecting Israel until after we kill all them people?
We will not be nice about it. This is not the Biden administration. The message is clear.
Biden administration bombed Yemen 1,000 times in 2024 alone.
Until they got a ceasefire.
And then they got a ceasefire.
Well, I guess they're not being nice. I guess Pete, the Crusader Hegseth is being correct.
We will come after the Houthis until they stop shooting at our ships, and the Iranians better stay out of it.
Put this in context for me, because...
So they did stop shooting at our ships. This is just you doing the bidding of Saudi Arabia now. And Israel.
Yeah, well,
doesn't it bother people?
Iran? How do we get to it?
Yeah, how can we get to Iran? That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
So maybe a submarine goes down, maybe it doesn't come up.
Oh, wait, how do we get to war with Iran is what he said.
That's what he said.
How do we get to war with Iran?
How do we get to war with Iran? Could you send me that video, Malcolm? Please, pretty please, can you send me that video? I want to play it.
There's got to be a way.
Scott Clausen, I think his name.
That's right.
Yeah.
U.S. intelligence has been suggesting for some time that Israel has the desire and intent to conduct an attack on Iran's developing nuclear program in the coming months. President Trump has extended an offer for negotiations. Have you heard anything back from Iran? Is this strike in Yemen a signal to Iran?
Iranians have supported the Houthis. They've provided them intelligence. They've provided them guidance. They've provided them weaponry. I mean, there's no way the Houthis, the Houthis would have the ability to do this kind of thing unless they had support from Iran. And so this was a message to Iran. Don't keep supporting them, because then you will also be responsible for what they are doing in attacking Navy ships, in attacking global shipping.
So this is how we get to war in Iran.
Finally, new Lindsey Graham is doing his job.
And now,
Middle East Lindsey Graham is telling her like it is.
That's right. Russia tells the United States to stop bombing Houthis. After Trump's first major strikes on Yemen's Houthis, killing at least 31 militants, Russia is now demanding the United States halt its military action and push for talks instead. Lavrov told Secretary Rubio that force should stop immediately, while Washington has warned Iran to stop backing the Houthis. This is how we get to war with Iran.
Meanwhile, every dumb shit liberal is worried about Elon Musk Doge cuts that are not even
That's
going
right.
to happen.
They're not worried about this.
They're not even going to happen. I mean, USAID,
No.
great. The money doesn't go to them. It's going to go in the war machine. You should be complaining about Rubio, who I thought was under control, but I forgot they're all under control of our.
They're all under control.
Carrier.
That's right. Here's how we get to. Here's at the Washington Institute for Middle East Policy. This is so what he said a couple years ago is what's happening right now. Watch this.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough.
Crisis initiation is really tough.
And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran.
It's really hard. We got to get to war with Iran, but it's really hard for me to see how a president's going to pull this off. Well, they found this is how they're doing it. Listen to what he says.
Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall he had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode.
I like how he says we had to wait for it. We made it up.
We didn't go to war with Spain until the until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war. One can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating.
So there you go. So I just played that Pat Clausen guy. Here's another guy telling you years ahead of time what's happening right now. And Trump is the guy doing it.
Didn't intervene. He said, but one thing we did learn, he said, we learned that we can use our military in the region, in the Middle East, and the Soviets won't stop us. He said, and we've got about 5 or 10 years to clean up those old Soviet client regimes. Syria, Iran, Iraq, before the next great superpower comes on to challenge us. And it was like, I'm coming out of the Mojave Desert. I've been training troops. I haven't been thinking geostrategy for some time. And suddenly a guy just sort of shoves this nugget at you. Well, you remember it. It was a pretty stunning thing. You mean the purpose of the military is to start wars and change governments? It's not to sort of deter conflict. We're going to invade countries. And my mind was spinning. And I put that aside. It was like a nugget that you hold on to. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. It went back to those comments in 1991. Now, did anybody ever tell you that? Was there a national dialogue on this? Did senators and congressmen stand up and denounce this plan? Was there a full-fledged American debate on it? Absolutely not. And there still isn't. And that's why we're failing in Iraq. Because Iran and Syria know about the plan. All you have to do is read the Weekly Standard.
So there you go.
By the way, the last time we fought a war in Iraq, Iran won the war and they weren't even in the goddamn war.
That's right.
How bad we are.
That's how bad we are. So, Trump is turning out to be just like Joe Biden when it comes to the Middle East.
I guess it's not, your money's not going to be wasted on Ukraine. It'll be wasted on Bibi Netanyahu's bucket list.
It's going to be wasted on Saudi Arabia and Bibi Netanyahu's bucket list, which is Iran.
Yeah. And your kids are still going to go die for this crap, too.
Yeah. Wait till they start sending your kids to die for it.
I mean, Zelensky said your kids have to, but again, Ukraine's our side chick. We're talking about our wife, Israel.
That's right. Hey, we've all been told that aging's just a natural process, aches and pains, thinning hair, wrinkled skin, brittle nails. But what if I told you that the rate at which we age isn't just about time, it's also about what we're consuming? For decades, the FDA has allowed toxic chemicals, preservatives, and artificial ingredients into our food supply, things that are banned in other countries. These toxins disrupt our hormones, weaken our bones, accelerate aging, and wreak havoc on our skin and hair. But there's something you can do about it. One of the best ways to fight back against this damage is by giving your body the nutrients it truly needs, nutrients that the modern diet is sorely lacking. That's why I want to tell you about Revive from Brightcore Nutrition. Revive is designed to rebuild and restore your body from the inside out. It contains 5 types of collagen, hyaluronic acid, biotin, and vitamin C working together to strengthen bones and joints, rejuvenate your skin, and help grow back thicker, healthier hair. I could use that. All the things that processed food and environmental toxins have been stripping away from us. It's all natural, non-GMO, and made 100% in the United States. No hidden toxins, no fillers, just pure, high-quality ingredients that actually work. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below. Just use the code DORE for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to a 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-253-0418. Come see us on tour in Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, Cohost, Providence, San Jose, Toledo, Ohio. Go to jimmydore.com for tickets.